Look at this. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're going to be going over this Black Widow Ram 1500. First and foremost, so a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Dodge Ram here in Provo, Utah for giving me some time with this Black Widow Ram. I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below. This one is available for sale right now if you're interested. On a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below as well. Let's get into the video. So under the hood we have the 5.7 liter Hemi V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. It's good for 395 horsepower and then 410 pound-feet of torque. Now fuel economy is normally 17 around town and then 22 on the highway, but with the tires and the lift on this truck, I'm not sure that's true anymore. But anyways, cool engine. Now before we dive into the trucks, I'm going to mention that I think is pretty cool about Black Widow trucks is they are built off of so many different packages on the trucks that they have this on. Like for example, this is a Bighorn Night Edition. I've also seen Black Widows built off of Bighorn Sports, regular Bighorns, Laramies, and so on and so forth. And so it's cool that there's pretty much like a Black Widow build for everyone. Anyways, you guys can see here we've got the venting on the side. Notice it has the Black Widow logo, and then also on the windshield. Now, being a night edition, we've got the darker colored headlights. This is the base Bighorn headlights. And then notice how the grille is all blacked out there at the top and then in the center as well with the Ram logo. And then you can see here at the bumper, it's body painted. No tow hooks on this particular truck. We got fog lights and parking sensors though. And you guys can see here with the lift, it just looks phenomenal. Now, if we pop to the side, we've got the fender flares with the bolts, has this really aggressive appearance to it. Those are body painted. Now, you guys can see we've got a pretty aggressive setup here. We've got 35s, and those 35s are wrapped around 20-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear. Notice how they have the Black Widow logo. We've got the Black Widow red brake caliper as well. And if you guys are wondering on the width, 325, which is pretty typical for 20-inch wheels and then also 18-inch wheels when you throw 35s on them. And then we have a 6-inch lift here with this package as well. Everything's been aligned, speedo's been recalibrated, all of that, and it's compliant with all regulations. And then the Ram 1500, the new one, has independent front suspension, if you guys are wondering. And then notice here, we've got another Black Widow logo here on the side with the Ram logo. And then notice the mirrors are blacked out, body painted door handles. And then we'll take a few steps back. So you guys can see the full side view on this truck. I think it looks just absolutely phenomenal from a side view perspective. And then popping here to the rear, same exact tire and wheel setup in the back. But notice here, we've got the addition of Fox shocks here in the back. It's kind of hard to see. But that's supposed to help out with ride quality. Now, the benefit of a lifted Ram over other lifted trucks is you have coil suspension in the back end. And so ride quality is a lot smoother with the Ram, and it stays a lot more planted, especially after lifting it. So again, huge benefit. And then again, massive fender flare, of course. And then we've got the base Bighorn taillights. We've got our 4x4 badge, Black Widow badge, and then notice everything else is all blacked out. And then we also have an exhaust added to this as well, which I'll play before we do the driving portion. Now, it doesn't look like it's a full-on exhaust. It looks like it's just the tips that have been changed on it. So it probably will sound pretty similar to stock. Solid rear axle, if you guys are wondering, by the way. So coil suspension, solid rear axle. And then from a bed perspective, nothing's really changed here. We do have a sticker there on the window that says Black Widow, though. And yeah, one thing to mention, though, is I'm not exactly a short person. I'm like 5'11"-ish or whatever. And the bed goes up to like waist height for me pretty much, so it is pretty tall in terms of loading stuff up. So kind of thought I'd mention that. And then here is again with the 3/4. The truck looks really good from every single angle. Now we do have power side steps that have been added to this, as you can see. Now this is a normal Bighorn interior from a door panel perspective, but not from a seat perspective. With the Black Widow trucks, they'll upgrade the seats so that you've got all this cool custom stitching on the seat. And then being the Night Edition, everything's gonna be darker from a trim perspective. Still have a massive cab because, well, it's a new Ram crew cab. And then notice again, stock door panel. But again, you got Black Widow here on the headrest, and then also with the seats, you got the leather added in. Because Bighorn normally has cloth. And then there is some footwell illumination here. And on the passenger side, in red. And then, being a Bighorn, having analog gauges on either side, you guys can see you've got the Black Widow logos there. And then normal Bighorn steering wheel, normal Bighorn dash, that hasn't changed. This one does have the 12-inch display And then just the regular backup camera added to it. And then center console, again being, let me turn this down, being the night edition package, as you guys can see. And then you got the dual glove box set up. And then this particular one doesn't have a sunroof, but you can option it out on a Bighorn. And then there's that. And I'll commonly see these with sunroofs with the Black Widow package is what I've noticed so far. So that's kind of another key thing. But anyways, shut this off for a second so I can show you guys the sticker. Well, maybe it won't pop up. There we go. It's popping up. So anyways, you guys can see the base Bighorn was $60,510 with how they spec this out. And the Black Widow package is a $24,000 upgrade on this. Everything comes with, including the warranty, which is the 3-year, 36,000 mile warranty. And so yeah, $24,000 in options on top of that base price. So you're like, what, $85,000 roughly? A little bit less? Well, yeah, about $85,000. My math's bad today. Let's see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's your visibility over the hood, both of the mirrors, the rest of the rear, and let's set off. Setting off here in the Black Widow Ram 1500, and we're going to talk about the pros and cons of this truck in my eyes. You know, I'm going to try to address as much as I can with this driving portion. But first off, this is such a monster to drive. It's so tall. You definitely have that king of the road feel. And if you want even more of a king of the road feel, just, you know, bump the seat up so that you're almost touching the top of the truck, and then you'll really have that king of the road feel. But first off, ride quality is, like I said, exceptionally smooth, and this is why the Ram Black Widow is my favorite out of the lineup. You know, I love the look of the Ford and I love the look of the Chevy. I think they look great. The point I wanted to make here about the Ram having the coil suspension is that it just stays nice and planted compared to the leaf springs with the Ford and with the Chevy. And so, yeah, it just definitely leads to a really solid experience. Now, the other thing that I would like to mention is I don't feel like you really give up too much of this. Like, it's smooth, it's comfortable, it's quiet. You know, maybe there's gonna be a little bit more wind noise with this truck, but yeah, everything's done really well. Everything's tidied up and everything with the truck, and so I just think it's solid. And then the other thing is, you guys will see here in a second, is the acceleration is really solid with the truck, which is cool. Like, you know, this has pretty big tires and wheels, and you don't really concede a whole lot from an acceleration perspective, which, I mean, you know, sometimes when you lift trucks and throw 35s on them and everything, you can concede quite a bit from acceleration perspective. But look at this. Nope, just moves. So let's sum things up and kind of give my thoughts, you know, pros and cons with this package. So first off, pro, it looks great, and again, having that warranty is great, and so, you know, that peace of mind, and, you know, it's and also like the fact that, you know, this isn't just thrown together. Like they have engineers that will put these packages together with Black Widow, so that they make sure that all the parts work together, and that you're not gonna have one thing break or another thing break. And again, that's why they warranty it. They wouldn't warranty it if they don't think that, you know, the truck's gonna hold together. Okay, cons, price, right? It's an expensive package, and yes, you could get all these parts for less money and get it installed for a little bit less money, but you're not gonna have that warranty. You're not gonna have the resale value either. Like, this is now a Black Widow Ram 1500, so on the used market, it's sold as a Black Widow Ram 1500. Versus if, you know, this was just a lifted truck, you don't get any extra value if you just lift your truck and throw all these accessories on. So resale value is better, and so that's a plus. Now, con with the Ram specifically, and I think it's a pretty big con, and that is the fact that the TRX exists. And ultimately, this is not an off-road package. Yes, it has 35-inch tires, but it's got 20-inch wheels, and it doesn't really have like hardcore off-road shocks. So let's be real, nobody's going to be taking this truck off-road. This is purely like, hey, I want to show that I have a cool truck. And Ram sells the TRX. And so it's kind of hard for people to justify spending TRX money when, or sorry, yeah, TRX money on this, right? It's like, oh, I would just rather get the 700 horsepower truck that has tons of road presence and all that kind of stuff. And so this is, in Ram's lineup, that's what this is competing against. I've seen the Black Widow trucks with the Chevys sell really well, because Chevy doesn't really have a cool Halo truck. They have the new ZR2, but it's not like this. And then Ford has the Raptor, but Raptors are so hard to get a hold of that the Black Widow Fords sell pretty well. And so I really like this package, but yeah, I definitely think that, you know, the TRX existing and being attainable from, you know, price point perspective in comparison to this, like they're pretty close in price. And then also the fact you can go into a Ram dealership and order one, they're not super difficult to get like the Raptors, makes it so that this, for a lot of people, is a little bit less desirable, and I understand that. But, you know, if you just want a cool lifted truck that's unique, this will give it to you. But yeah, it's got some competition from its own, you know, obviously Black Widow's not with Ram, but like it's, you know, from the Ram lineup, basically. That's gonna sum things up for our video on this Black Widow Ram 1500. Again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Jeep Chrysler here in Provo for giving me some time with this truck. Check out the inventory in the description down below. I'll see all of you in the next video.